Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today's video I thought I would go over just my summary of the Overlord collaboration, my thoughts, my opinions, the goods, the bads, and the what could we see in the futures. So, firstly we're going to go over the characters themselves. We'll go over the new ones, then we'll go over the old ones, because of course the new ones are a lot more relevant. Demi, once again, very good character. CC-wise, he's the second highest collaboration character in terms of CC in the game, which is quite good. He also out-CCs the new LR King, which is good. That he can out-CC LRs, of course that is 6/6 HP defense, all outfits, all that kind of stuff. True Awaken, maxed out Relic. But, once again, he can out-CC King, which is kind of good. And he was able to bring back the Demon meta. As you can see, he's an unknown, but he has the secondary race of Demon, which is the first time they've ever done that with the collaboration, and is completely game-changing to the future of collaborations as we know it. Because normally collaborations, if you've been playing the game for a while, they're human or they're unknown. There's nothing else to it. That's all they are. But of course you have freak ones. You have Aaron, like the only character to have two races, and it's giant. To be honest, right? It's only really good for chaos mode. But Demon, you know, it stands out a little bit more. Demon's quite a meta team. You've got a lot of meta characters. Giant is sort of, yeah, mediocre at best. Beyond that, Demi was designed in a very good way. Once again, he is probably the least selfish character that I've seen in a very long time. Everything in his kit is not based towards him, it's based towards his team. So, he gives out, of course, 15% basic stats. If, of course, 3 of your allies are all demon, you get 5% basic stats. And 30% damage reduction. That's for your entire team. The only selfish bit he really has is the increases damage dealt by 50% when attacking with attribute advantage. So when he attacks a green character, he does 50% more damage. That is the most selfish thing he has, of course, apart from the mind control, but they can't actually target Demi. Apart from that, the rest of it is actually towards his allies, which is good to see, and he's an absurd DPS. Like, bear in mind, Gelder, absurdly tanky, right? There's very few characters that can deal with Gelder, and Demi is one of them, and he is type neutral. And with Demi on the team, you know, Gelder hits so hard. Like she could hit hard like without Demi, but with Demi it's a whole different story. Like you let all his passive build up, or his relic build up, and her passive build up, and you're looking at like a 1 million level 1 AoE with Gelder, and it's like, oh my god, how? And you've got Melee as well. Like, he helps out Demon King Melee, who is very good. And my only real downside of Demi is that he has very low crit resistance, which means he can get crit quite easily, but maybe they thought of that, and they thought, okay, to balance him out realistically, we need to give him lower crit resistance, so characters can kill him quite easily. Of course, if you run tier Link, you get 60% crit defense, which is a lot, and will actually sort of negate the extremely low crit resistance by giving him a lot of crit defense. Overall, very good character, and he's probably one of my favourite collaboration characters that I've ever released, just because he's just so fun to use. Like, I just like... The only problem that he suffers with is PvE. He is basically completely useless in PvE, as all of his skills require debuffs. His relic requires debuffs. The only thing that doesn't require debuffs is his passive, and still then, if he hasn't really got debuffs, he isn't really providing much for the team. Compared to when he does have debuffs, he is the team himself. He provides everything for the team. When he dies, the team dies. Like, debuff based. The ultimate isn't, because it actually applies debuffs, and actually is quite good at 1/6. You look at like 1 million damage in ungeared across 3 enemies, which is very good for a 1/6 character. We'll do Nabe next, because we're doing the new ones first. Nabe, once again, I do like the fact she is not restricted to what content she can be used in. That is kind of weird, because her passive and her stats and her CC sort of say she's a PvE character. And I think the reason why they didn't, give her a PvE only passive is because we've already got Cocutus, right? And if they were to give 2 PvE only characters in a collaboration, it would sort of seem kind of odd to have them both restricted. That would literally be a third of the characters are restricted to PvE only, which isn't really the best. But she is quite good, of course, in PvP. She does just magically pull out these insane games where you've got insane attack with Thor, you can one-tap someone, and it's kind of nice to see. She doesn't put out the most amount of damage, but she's, once again, a very good support character, giving lots of attack. And I do feel like both these new characters are sort of a lot less selfish than, you know, the other Overlord characters who are actually very selfish. But overall, she is quite good in PvE. For a newer player, she might be quite nice to pair up with Albedo, because Albedo's really broken it as it is. You then put Nabe on that team as well, and you're hitting very hard, which is kind of nice. Stats-wise, once again, you can tell she's a PvE character. Very low crit chance. Like, she's got okay crit resistance and, like, actually standard crit defense. But because she has such low crit chance, you sort of know she's going to be a PvE character. Because to be PvP meta, you have to have probably close to 130 plus crit chance just to be able to, you know, stand with the champions, sort of standing at the top of the meta. And still then, you need some sort of crit chance boosting skill, whether that be a 2 times or a 3 times, just to guarantee the crit, because lots of characters nowadays, you know, you've got Nanashi in back, you've got Boldir, you know, all boosting these crit resistance and crit defenses. But overall, she's very good. I do feel like they maybe had a thought in mind, because in the video, in the live stream, when they did show her, and they showcased her, they did showcase her on Rat, which was sort of odd, because she didn't perform that well, really. And maybe it was the person playing it, maybe it was just bad RNG, but they weren't the best at it. Of course, on just the other demonic beasts in general, she is quite good. For the ones that are floors 1 to 3, Bird, I have actually beaten Bird with Nabe. I didn't record it. It was like my friend was like, "You might as well just do one run. Come on, it won't hurt." And I did one run, and I won. I may do a video on it. I may not. The problem is, once again, it will take a lot of time to record, and then once again, repeatability. I'm not the biggest fan of the new Bird, mainly because Phase 3 with Nabe requires even more RNG than when you had Melee. Because Melee had an Amplify skill. She has a Power Strike ultimate, but once again, a skill is much easier to get than an ultimate. But apart from that, she's a very good character. Good CC, very good support, and they definitely had a vision for her, which is, I would like to see how that comes to play maybe later on in the game. Maybe when they release a few more characters. And now we'll go on to the older characters, called Albedo. Had a very slight buff. My Albedo can't really be compared to. She is, like... she's got, like, as much CC as she can get. 73.3k for an over a year old character is very good. Of course, that is True Awakened, Ultimate 6/6, Relics upgraded. She's very good. Once again, Albedo is unrivaled for like the standard PvE content, floors 1 to 3 to Bird Deer Dogs. She is still unrivaled. Demon King, she's still very good. And just general, any hard story content, Albedo can cheese quite well. She get a slight CC buff, but her main buff came from this skill. That is slight multiplier increase, so this went from 180 to 200, this went from 270 to 300, and this went from 450 to 500. Nothing else really changed. To be honest, she didn't really need a buff apart from that. Like, her stats-wise, crit resistance is okay, her crit defense makes up for it. This is with attack crit, 114% crit chance, 260% crit dam. She increases her own stats by a lot, so it's kind of good. As I was saying, Albedo's very good. PvE content-wise, she's very good. I would highly recommend her, like leveling her up, and she, in my opinion, is still one of the core PvE characters for a new player. Like, if you were to get her as a new player, let's say you were to start this collaboration, you were to pull Albedo, she will probably carry you through most of the original 3 demonic beasts, because she herself is a demonic beast. She hits hard. Her counter's insane. You know, you mix that with Nabe's new 40% attack boost, basically on a demonic beast, you know, with all her buffs as well. Albedo is still terrifying to this day. Especially if you have all outfits, you know, she's 6/6, you've got attack crit for her, because she can lifesteal enough to just be run attack crit, to be honest with you. But yeah, Albedo, once again, she's just Albedo. She does Albedo things all the time. We'll just Sholtir. Sholtir, her buff was, once again, very small. Her main buff was to do with her basic stats. She didn't have any substat boosts. The only collaboration character to get a substat boost from the buffs was Ainz, and that was to his crit chance, which he kind of needed, to be honest. Sholtir's normal Sholtir. Unfortunately, she isn't really PvP meta. I would like to see a slight rework of her passive. She'd actually have a slight buff of her passive, which was, this was 7%, now it's 10%. I would have liked to see maybe a rework on her Madness buff, because losing 30% defense-related stats in a meta where, like, you know, Demi's meta, or, like, Melee, or Thor, losing 30% defense-related stats is a lot, and will quite easily cost you the game. Apart from that, for Chaos Mode, once again, should be quite good. General PvE, once again, she's very debuff based. She wants bleed, and unfortunately, many demonic beasts are immune to it. Of course, apart from Rat, where you can actually use bleed, and you can actually use Sholtir, which is kind of cool, because they're always AOE. But yeah, that's really it for Sholtir. I guess she's Rerun. Rerun she's kind of good in, but that's it for Sholtir. Ainz, Mr. Ainz. Unfortunately, he got a slight CC boost. He had a slight effect rework. It wasn't even a card rework, it was actually an effect. So the effect rework was this actually used to do 40% per death brand, now it's 50%. Same with the ultimate. He had a slight slight stat boost. I think he had the highest stat boost out of every collaboration character that got a buff from this collab. He had a slight crit chance boost, I think of about 7 or 8%, enough to get him to just over 100% with no outfits. Of course, my Ainz just holds my other Albedo set. He doesn't really need gear. I use him maybe every blue moon in chaos mode, but that's it. His damage is pretty good. Unfortunately, you do sort of want him 6/6 for the damage lower, because without it, he's sort of kind of useless, but once again, he's okay. He's not the worst. Like, if you get him, he's kind of cool, and I wanted him because his relic is... This is his relic, and if you've watched the anime, you know this is something in the anime, and it's really cool how they did that. It's the same with Albedo as well. I do like little details like that. And then Felgutus, who, once again, he got a very slight buff. He had, of course, had a slight basic stat buff. I think he had one of the smaller ones, sort of like Albedo. And then he had a buff, I think it was... this skill? Yeah, it was this one. So it used to give you 8% max HP for every debuff you remove, and now it's 10%. Of course, this is a buff, but instead of going to 40% HP, you can now go to 50% HP boost for your entire team. Which is, 10% is quite a big boost, especially, of course, if you can use him in these points-based game modes, which is, of course, where he is basically made for. He can't be used in Demonic Beast, but he can be used there, which is pretty good. But that's really it. But my big thing about this collab is, like, content-wise, well, I mean content, I mean, like, the general content they added to the game wasn't much. It's a rerun. They don't add anything anymore for reruns, which is kind of sad, but it is how it is. But what I do like is the fact that Demi got Demon Race. And what does this mean? Future collaborations may have characters with different races, but they just give an unknown, just like they are unknown, but they get the additional race of Demon, or Goddess, or Fairy, or Giant, or whatever, right? And that, in my opinion, opens up a huge amount. It opens out huge amount of stuff. A huge amount of characters they can add, or like metas they can bring back. Goddess, they need a meta bring back. Come on, Liz was meta for how long? Like a month, 2 months, and she got wiped out the meta because of melee, and then demons came back. But what they can do, for example, they bring Konosuba. Aqua could be a goddess. There you go. You've got goddess and unknown. Boom. You've then got another character. If they were to maybe step out their go outside their little isekai boundary a little bit, they could go to Fate. Once again, they could turn someone into a demon. They could have a demon race, or just other things. Really, it just broadens the horizon more for collabs, which is really what they kind of needed. Because currently, collabs, as you can see here, they're all human or unknowns. You've got one demon, you've got a giant down there, technically, but that's it. Most of them are unknowns and humans, which, I guess for a game that has a lot of original characters, and most of them are unknown, and now a lot of them are getting broken festivals, it sort of unbalances the game a little bit. I do feel like Demi was a very good breath of fresh air. I feel like lots of people weren't expecting it, and that's a good thing. I do hope they sort of keep this up in the future and keep a lot of these dual race collaboration characters, just because it can shake up the meta a little bit. I know, some people get like upset. Oh wow, another meta-breaking collaboration character. But collaboration characters, this is the thing, they have to be future-proof. If they're not future-proof, there's no point summoning them. That's the reason why Victoria is still the highest CC collaboration character in the game. So that means she can compete with the next LRs, the next festival. So she can't compete with the next UR festival, but she can keep catch up to the LRs and the new standard SSRs, because they need to be, for them to be worth summoning for. If they were like standard characters, no one's going to want to summon for a character that can't out-CC, the newest king. Like my Albedo can probably out-CC the newest LR king with HP defense gear. Of course, I'll have videos on the new LR king when it comes out, but it's good. This collaboration was quite good. The buff was quite nice. I actually enjoyed the collab a lot more when I started playing it compared to when I first saw it. When I first saw it, I was like, it's kind of okay. You know, you've got this, Demon's back. I hate Demon Mare. I hated Demon King with a passion. And I hated Gelder with an even bigger passion. I guess who's back, Gelder. But I do feel like Demi is quite a good counter to Gelder, as well as, Gelder becomes much better with Demi on the team. But I feel like it's sort of now just to go first mare, which is completely fine for me because I have high bulk CC and high constellation. But for some other players, it may be slightly different. But overall, it's good collab, and I do like the fact they are switching up the meta when it comes to collaboration characters. Adding additional races will definitely make the game feel a little bit less like unknown versus unknown, human v human, every time a collaboration comes out, because that's basically what happens. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this collaboration. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.